Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike. We have an awesome episode with Serghei Țvetcov today. We talk about his long history as a pro. He goes in on some training details of the difference of when he was doing 4-hour races versus 6-hour races, what happens when you race the Giro, and he definitely touches on his recent diagnosis of leukemia, where he's taking that, how he's feeling, how he's managing it. If you want to look for a specific topic, check out the chapters below. But this was just a great conversation about bikes. Serghei, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Everybody, good luck with your training and racing, and we'll talk to you soon. So this is an embarrassing question to ask. So are you a Romanian citizen now?
So since 2013, I become a Romanian citizen. Yes.
Okay.
So
Because
before I was Moldavian. I mean, I was born in Moldova Republic, but back to history, whatever, like ex-part of Romania, like a Romania government decided like to give away like a lot of citizenship, like probably politics-wise. I don't know, honestly, be honest. So I think it's like 70% of Moldavians, they have like dual citizenship, like Romanian as well.
Okay.
And yeah, pretty much all my career, like I spent in Romania just racing and like Olympic Games, all those, programs is much better than in Moldova it was. So, but back at that time. So,
Got it. Okay. No, it clarifies because I was curious. Yeah, had been reading your history, seeing what you've done. Obviously, you won Romanian nationals a bunch of times. So I was like, wait a minute, maybe he has dual, maybe he, da, da, da. And yeah. So there's always good
yeah,
learn some
right now
history
it's
there.
triple even, but yeah, it doesn't really matter much.
So before we jump into everything, I don't want to put words in your mouth of who you are. For the people, so anybody that might not know who Serghei is, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Serghei Țvetcov, 35 years old. Was born in Moldova. Start cycling, and I was like 14 years old. Before I was a breakdancer. Pretty much like 3 years I spent like pretty much professional breakdancer.
Get
And
out of here. That's
yeah,
amazing.
so yeah, I mean, started 14 years old. Later, just start my journey in cycling, like step by step. I become like a national, member of national team of Moldova. Started like racing a lot to Ukraine. I think a couple times in Russia, but most of for Ukraine. And after just in 2010, I moved in the US. I won a green card lottery. So and after that, just pretty much my you know my cycling was started in the US. So I think 21 years old, I moved in the US. I started like racing for the small team, crit team. Later on, I moved to bigger team XG. Team XG. It was like continental team with Freddie Rodriguez, Matt Cook,
Mm-hmm.
like some names. And step by step, yeah, I become just this job become like a job in US. So yeah, I'm a father of two kids right now. So pretty much like a week ago, I had my second kid. Like and pretty much living in Colorado. So enjoying my life so far.
That's amazing. And I can cut this out if you want, but I had to die when you were like, oh, by the way, can we reschedule the podcast? I'm having a baby that day. I was like, dude, Serghei, what?
Yeah, I totally forgot because I spent like a month away, came back, and just like I know I just like yeah, let's go for that date. Like, oh, I totally forget because we were scheduled and I
that
went.
is that is the number one reason to postpone a podcast. I was like, is he being for real right now? This is hilarious. Love it.
It was a
So
good news, right?
we gotta. So wait, the breakdancing, professional breakdancing, was this in Romania still?
In Moldova. So in
In
Romania,
Moldova, sorry.
yes, yeah. I was like a school, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't.
But you were getting paid to do this also?
Yeah, not really, but we kind of was just dancing, in clubs, which is like get paid a little bit, yes. But most we compete even, like also like in Ukraine was pretty developed, like break dancing, like festivals and everything, and yeah, quite professional, I would say. Still, yeah, some
So
skills.
you slay the dance floor at like weddings and any big event here
Sometimes,
these days.
yeah. But I gonna tell you, it helps a lot during the crashes. So those ability to just like to jump from your height to whatever floor level, it's the same on the bike, which is like much faster. Like it's definitely it's those skills. It helps a lot.
That's always interesting to hear, like when there's a sport that someone has done and it crosses over a little bit to help cycling. What do you think is like a good tip for people that have not been breakdancing to like where do you think it's just your reaction time or your ability to roll that helps you in those instances?
Exactly. Is the ability to roll. The first thing is ability to roll because I saw a lot of times in my life and experience in cycling people like great, you know, bike riders, but as soon they hit the ground, they just break the teeth. I don't know, the face, everything, and whatever breakdancing, you always from like I told, like from the top, like from the high of your whatever you go to down to floor, you just like group, yeah, like roll and everything, and the same thing in cycling. If I have like half second I understanding like okay now it's gonna be crash, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just even I think in YouTube somewhere my last the worst crash in Thailand in the YouTube actually, yeah, for sure you can find this one. So I broke my collarbone, but I was roll and I woke up on my feet and like all right I'm fine and I was just like breakdancing like back to my feet, but I realized like oh my hand just doesn't go up, like all right something wrong. That was
Yeah,
recently like 2021 I think so, yeah.
that's wild.
But that's perfect like move it was there, like basically I crashed on a big high speed like 500 meters to the finish line and just like back to
Mm.
the to the pit.
And then you mentioned, and I had read about this in the Velo News article, that you won the lottery to come to the U.S. You had sort of submitted this thing, and just it was it the article correct? You kind of forgot about it. You're just like, oh, I'm going to submit this, and all of a sudden you got a call. Hey, you can go to the U.S.
Exactly. So basically, US has a program every year. They gives away 50,000 visas, immigration visa by lottery. So you can apply. It's for free. You just apply whatever some information, date of birth, your name, and some photo, like special photo, which I remember I just like crop from some whatever normal photo and just put and applied for that thing. And yeah, I mean, just was just for fun because like on our TV, just like oh you need to apply, you need to apply. We're like, all right, let's do it. It's nothing cost for me. And like next year, just like have a call, like, hey Sergey, did you apply for a green card? And they're like, I think so. Yeah, what's going on? Congrats, you won. Are you happy? But I don't know what to say. I don't really realize what could wait me in there. So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, let's talk about that. So that process started. I like understand. All right, time to move to US.
And so, did you come by yourself?
Yeah, I did.
So, what do you feel if had you not won that lottery? Where do you think you'd be right now?
It's hard to say, but I don't know. Definitely, it's I I, I ask that question in my my mind.
Yeah.
Actually, special. I gonna say I won another lottery. Probably gonna we're gonna talk later a bit. Like it's quite a lottery, right? But yeah, I don't know. Be honest, I don't know for
Yeah,
sure.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a crazy. And so, what do you feel like you've had the ability to race with a ton of different teammates, a bunch of different teams? Like, how do you, when you think back over all the years, like, what are some of the standout moments of, you were here, you were over in Europe? What were some of like your favorite years?
Be honest. Every year it was some special year. Like the first year when I from the Crete team criteriums was something new for me. I
What
was
team
ready
was that?
as the Aerocat is like Abraham Emil. He was the owner of
Oh
this
yeah.
team. Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
team which is he did an incredible job. He teach me a lot. Like first, my races was speed week, which is like was what's going on. I came from Europe, like 180, 200 kilometers races, and I came here like 45 minutes qualifications, whatever. Athens. I remember Athens speed week, something like wow, this is like some. I really want to retire. So step by step, I won Tour of Ireland that year, 2011. It was incredible experience. It wasn't that big level like Speed Week, but still, it was like 11 days. Omnium with the points. It was time trial. I won time trial. I get second on road race. That's why I gained a lot of points. And later, I was just pretty much every creator was top three, which like all right, probably I can ride my whatever creates. So from there, like all right, I need to move up something, and that's why I start try to find another team, bigger team.
And that's when you went to Exergy?
That's right. Yeah, I started an email to every team just like crazy. It's hard. It's like different story. We can talk a lot about that. But yeah, that XG was one who answered to me offer like an offer which like I need to stop for work because I worked at the same time I was a grocery whatever beggar, right?
Yeah.
So in Atlanta I was for 3 years in Atlanta. I spent like 4 years, my first year in Atlanta, Alpharetta actually. So yeah, I stopped working because like I was kind of salary. I had some salary, so that was like all right, time to get serious. And that was a good year because for me it was a first experience with USA Pro Challenge, Champion California, Tour of Utah, Cascade. That's the biggest the biggest show in US. Yeah, that was perfect. And every year was special, right? So like end of the year of 2012, the team stopped. Like, all right, we don't have any, opportunities because in November they told us, like, all right, guys, your contract is right now zero, right, for 2020 or 2013. And I had a contract, almost double it. Like, oh, all right. And again, from zero, just like, like a little small team in California. Thanks to those guys, just like kept me, like first two races like Redlands, I think so, San Dimas, Merced Classic, and after I signed with Jelly Belly with Danny Van Hout, which is like start another journey with them.
You mentioned reaching out to teams and how much that's changed. What were you going on that a little bit? Because I think it's an interesting topic. Like, how is outreach now so much different than back in 2012?
The thing is, to I start sending emails when I came in US like all over. Like it was a lot of teams, to be honest. Like Jamis, Bissell, like a lot of teams. Like so, no one don't really answering. Like couple, like Jelly Belly was answering. Danny Van Howard was answering first. Like, and the first question, can you raise creeds? Be like, all right, I don't know, probably. Okay, okay. So it was quite hard, but after Exergy, which my name it was, I was like USA Pro Challenge. It was one of the best race for me that year. I was in a breakaway with George Hincapie, with Nibali, with Peter Wales, with like big guys, and I was probably with Bajidal. That two guys was Conti teams, and I was trying to push like, hey guys, I was at that breakaway somehow. Just answer to me something. So in November, of course, like everyone was full, and like, but I noticed that more answers I get, from the people because like already my name was somewhere, All right, so it was still hard. I think. I mean, doesn't change much
Mm.
since 2012.
And how would you link up with Androni then?
Well, I spent really great years with Jelly Belly. I finished top three, like third overall USA Pro Challenge. I was between like Rafa Maika back in the days. He was in Tinkoff credit system, whatever name, Walter team. Tom Danielson was second. TJ was first. I was on the podium with them, and I was just like, all right, I need to try, back to Europe, whatever back, try to get in
Mm.
Europe. So I had couple not offers, just talks with teams like Katusha,
Mm.
with Ikimov. He was like, back in the days a manager, and I talked with him a little bit, but the problem is, and the final it was like a politics. They need to more Russians. I wasn't that, and Androni offered me straight away 2 years contract, which like, all right, I need to get that contract first because
Mm.
the problem is I'm not American, because that year we moved like me, Joe Roscoff, Chad Haga, Carter Jones, and someone else. We like that year we moved everyone in Europe. So of course, like Americans, they had like better opportunities to move like in World Tour teams straight away because more interested from the teams. I was
Mm.
Romanian. I like, all right, because a lot of times I beat those guys, in time trials in our GC. We was just like, competing with each other, like, top 10 guys, always on every race. So, and I moved to Pro Conti teams. Those guys moved to like World Tour teams. And from Pro Conti team to move up, it's hard. So I back in the days, that's US. It was a good platform to move from Conti teams straight to World Tour teams. That's like, Amgen California. If if you get top 3 on the stage straight away, you have like, okay, this guy could be like in World Tour teams.
Mm.
So that a little bit politics as well. I'm in the smaller countries, less interest, but still I had a great opportunity to race with Androni, the biggest races, Milan San Remo, whatever, Giro d'Italia. Yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Well, I mean, that's what I was going to ask
Yes.
you. I mean, what was that like racing the classic, racing the Giro? Like, just,
Um, Definitely is like the big, massive difference than US. So, for example, every year I had the opportunity to race Worlds. Okay, so Worlds usually after Vuelta. So on Vuelta is just like guys, after 3 weeks on the best form, they race like, that 6 hours Worlds. It's no problem. For me, every year I get from, US racing to Worlds, and that, from 4 hours to 6 hours is a big difference. I remember
mhm.
perfect like Norway. The group was just steady. 4 hours, 4 hours, 30 minutes, first attacks. And I see on my computer, I'm like, oh shit, my legs is done. Perfect,
Mm.
like US racing. So after 2 years with Androni, I noticed like, oh my gosh, after 5 hours, I can race right now. My legs is just totally different level. And first year, like, big loads of whatever French classics or whatever 1.8C. Also, like Milan San Remo, like the longest races. Yeah, it's definitely a different level.
Mm.
And like normally, like like your body's changed after the Giro. Like that's the best years after the Giro was in my experience.
So, okay, that's very interesting because I've heard people talk about that before. Well, you feel like you felt that fitness for at least a year after doing a Grand Tour?
Yeah, definitely. I just was different person. I'm gonna say in training, because my training just like the volume I can hold like much bigger volume. You know, Even like straight after Giro, like 2 months after, I'm like, already like 5 hours in, I'm like, oh, my time already, like mental thing, it was like, oh, just only 5 hours. It's like some push, like some intervals, no problem. Yeah, after it was quite okay in Europe. I was kind of ready for another Giro because we should get invitation for 2016, but unfortunately we didn't get something. So yeah, but year after, like third year, I came back in US. I was flying. I was
Mm.
just like, the same level of UHC by myself, without any team. I was just like, all right, guys, on the stage race, not on the crits, on the
Hmm.
stage race. Yeah.
So do you think part of that is like you said, after you're doing just super mega long days over and over and over again, it makes the 4 hour ride seem like nothing. I mean, do you think part of it is just the comparison of where you were before, or do you think it was physically something changes in you that just makes you go, oh, 5 hours in, I'm going to go do some intervals? Or maybe it's a combination of both.
I think it's a combination of both because, for example, my Giro was like the big stages. It was like in Grupetas, right? Nothing
Mm,
special. One
mm-hmm,
day on stage 5, I had like a breakaway for a long one, but pretty much everything in Grupetas, I wasn't be able to do something. But still, that level of fitness in US is just like massive, massive.
mm-hmm.
I think it's both.
Do you think you could do anything in training for, say, you were in that position again, knowing what you know now, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be going to Worlds and I'm only doing 4 hour races. Could you simulate anything in training to help you better prepare for that? Or is it just you got to do long races?
I think, yeah, I think the best training is going to be race. It's
Yeah.
hard to simulate. For sure, the guys right now, the level which we can see in Peloton, some of the guys that they don't really race much, they came like just like flying, right? But be honest, I don't know. For me, I need races because, for
Mm,
example, my the best result it was third week. If I don't know if you remember, but it was like Cascade. I think 1.5 week after it was Utah, and like third race in I think 5 days in another week it was Colorado USA per challenge. That was the best race, like third week. I was
mm,
just pretty much every time the people from Utah came to Colorado from World Tour teams. I remember I was flying. Of course, probability to race in altitude for me it was much, it was like advantage. But so far I was just like feeling all right, third week, like incredible. So
mm.
for me it's hard to train probably the same.
Were you living at altitude then, or why do you think that? Why was the altitude an advantage for you?
You know, I don't. I found out through the races that I'm really good in altitude because in 2014 I moved when I signed with the Jelly Belly for second year. So I moved to Colorado because all the races like Tour of Gila, Utah, Cascade, everything in altitude, and it was a big sense to move in Colorado, right? So yeah, I moved here and find out like for example, I raced even with Androni Qinghai Lake. Is a tour of Qinghai Lake
Mm,
is like a
mm-hmm.
big 10 or whatever 11 days in China. It's a massive altitude gain, not gain. I would say some stages are going through like 4,000 meters. Okay,
Mm.
yeah, over 4,000 meters, like
Woo!
big highways. Yeah, so I remember that perfect. Like I was just one guy who was in the group of 10 guys of Colombians, like Colombians, Venezuela, whatever from like I think I was like 72 kilos, everyone was like 50 kilos. I was just one guy who was there and like no one else. I was just all right, probably sometimes digest that oxygen or whatever, ability to race in altitude doesn't really, you know, matter your weight. So I had that advantage, just like, all right, I'm good in altitude. I'm not bad. So yeah, I found out like, all right, and if you analyze my pro cycling stats, it's going to be all the best results in altitude. Nothing on sea level, nothing.
That's so interesting. What's when you then were coming back to the US and Androni dried up, were you disappointed at all? Were you excited to come back? What were you kind of feeling at that point?
That point. So the second year with Androni, I was with Egan Bernal.
Mm,
He was first year. We lived together, and I remember that was team which tried to find like young guys like Egan, like Sosa, Ivan Sosa. So and Gianni, this is the manager, Gianni Savio, is really famous in Europe. So he told me like, hey, Sergey, you're a great teammate for the big team. For example, like a worker for the big team, like the Messi guy. But unfortunately, we need to, for your salary, we can get like 3 Colombians. Like, yeah, that's the situation. Probably it was like nice, nice way to say no. But yeah, the thing is, that was like next year they signed Ivan Sosa, Kevin Rivera, all those bunch of, South American guys, which they are really good, and I think as a business wise, it was smart, move. And
Yeah.
for me, it was hard to move up because like, all right, I need to come back in US.
And then did you just reach out to Jelly Belly like, hey, I'm coming back. Let's do this again?
Yeah, definitely. Jelly Belly was like one of the greatest, support team like through my whole career. And of course, I was like and other teams had interest in me, but I thought like, yeah, pretty much every team in county level, it was the same in US. Like, I know those guys, I know the support. I was just happy to come back. Yeah. And I think year after 2018, I signed with UHC, United Healthcare.
Okay.
And it was 2017. It was massive year for me. I mean, I was just like perfect year. I won a stage in Colorado Classic back in the day. So right after USA Pro Challenge. Also, Utah third overall. Yeah, it was a bunch of good results, but I think like United Healthcare was a little bit different level. Of course, not little, but it was a different level, Pro Conti. But unfortunately, yeah, they stopped, and whatever. 1 year I spent with them was a great opportunity.
And then how do you look at like the last few years of kind of floating around, like, US cycling? You were on Floyd's, they're not here. And then did you go over to Malaysia? You were on a Malaysian team and then linked back up with Wildlife, or how did that play out?
So 2020, COVID year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So 2018, after Floyd stopped the team, I decided like I had two options: just go with the Wildlife generation or with Malaysian team, which I really want to try to race in Asia because I had experience with UHC, I had experience with Jelly Belly. To race in Asia is incredible races, honestly. It's like good prize money, good terrain, sometimes time trials. Great. I mean, definitely, I was just like, all right, probably too late to move in Europe, but let's try in Asia. I signed with Malaysian team. We won Tour of Langkawi. I was one of the guys who just support the leader jersey from stage 4, and unfortunately, COVID happened, and we stayed at home. So I was training, and the team just was like, I think Malaysia was really bad. They like locked down really bad. So I was racing pretty much with my national team in Romania after August, I think so. So yeah, the year was just like so.
So it seemed like over these years you've had, crit experience, Giro, doing a grand tour, you've kind of hit, big time trial success. What's a consistent thread in your training? Like what's your bread and butter?
I so before I started working with the power meter in 2014. No, 13.
Okay.
It's like first 2 months of training with the power meter. Okay. My first results, I won time trial in Natural Valley. I think it was Natural Valley.
Yeah, up in Minnesota.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I won by 7 seconds a national champion, Tom Zerbel. If you know, if
I
you
know
heard about
Zerbal.
it. Okay.
Yeah. I was out in Colorado. I used to be my coach then was
Okay.
buddies was Zerbal actually ended up working for Fast Cap, but he I think was an athlete back then. And yeah, Zerbeast.
Yeah.
So anyways, keep going.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He was like national champ I think in the not rally, Optim back in the days.
Yeah.
So I beat him. That was big step for me. My yellow jersey, with Jelly Belly, my first big results. And from there, when I started that system of training with power meter, just totally different, changed. And the system, for me, it was kind of like, something different because the guy I working with, I had like really short training, but always intervals, like VO2 intervals, just intervals. My training was just from intervals, nothing like more than 3 hours. And I'm gonna say that changed my my form and my level in US. But what I noticed when I moved in Europe for 2 years, that wasn't enough. Those, like 3 hours training, of course, you need to be, to do something longer. But for US, it was perfect. The first thing, my training was like maximum 3 hours. I was just like came back from 3 hours. Around like, I don't know, maybe around 3,000 kilojoules sometimes in the big efforts. And it was perfect for time trials. I mean, I was for a while a good time trial in, a lot of results in the US. It was time trial. Road race, I need to use my, of course, brain for road race. Without any experience, the watts doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also success in road race as well with this type of trainings. And right now I notice I'm trying to race whatever to get in gravel right now. And I think I'm gonna use this mix with a little bit longer, but definitely with the two kids, the time just a little bit. You need to
Yeah,
squeeze
a
the
little
time.
less time.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours is gonna be enough.
So when you say every ride was intervals, you were
Every ride.
doing every ride. How did you not like burn out from that, or how did you even do it? You never rode endurance. You never just like went out and rode.
For example, my I can tell you right what kind of interest. So my it was like 3 days of cycle, 1 day off, but it was not off. It was just like easy 1.5 hour ride, but still intervals. I had like 1 minute high cadence around like, I don't know, 400 watts and 5 minutes off. So 5 of those and day rest. Okay,
Mm.
kind of day rest. And that was my easiest day. But overall, like 3 days, just VO2s, like this, whatever, 5x5, 6x4, 7x3, some 220s right before. That was my day. Okay. And basically, since I started working with the power meter, my routes of my road, just one climb. If you're gonna, if you see my Strava, I have just one climb, which is like from 20 to whatever 40 minutes climb, and up and down, up and down. Sometimes people just like, okay, you're not tired. They're like, I get used to it already. I sometimes for me, if I do a loop, somewhere nice places to see whatever new climbs, I feel mental is useless. I didn't get anything from that training. But this is mental thing, of course.
Yeah.
But no, I was fine.
Did
I'm
you
still,
enjoy that?
when I saw results on the races, yes, of course.
That's
But
interesting.
it's hard. It's hard. But the thing is, it's so calculated because I knew every day how many kilojoules I gonna spend, how many, taking calories I can, calories out, calories in, whatever, with my feeding. I was just perfect. Just like I knew every corner. I knew like every meter of my training. And that was like
Mm.
my days. It was just pretty fast until the race. Okay, the race is a result. Okay, why not? I need to keep doing that thing.
So which gravel events do you think you want to do this year?
So hopefully, yeah, it's hard right now because I'm still trying to find the whatever support. Unfortunately, yeah, for sure you read or something. I got diagnosed in 2021 with chronic leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
right? So blood cancer, but luckily, it's under control. So it's not curable, but it's pretty treatable. So yeah, I have kind of project in my mind, to inspire the people and with mental help and everything, because I see in the groups with the same disease is like crazy. Like it's definitely it's different story. We can like do another podcast probably about that. But yeah, try to get support right now, like gravel bikes, like whatever, something, to get. But for sure, after June, I'm focusing to do whatever as much as possible.
Mm.
Because right now, like I don't have any team right now. So like, of course, in US, you need to pay your bill somehow. So first six, like until June, I a little bit busy with the, I have like kind of part-time job. But so far I want to focus on gravel and to try to get that as a good platform talk about that story, to try to invite the people to support that thing, because sometimes like healthy people, they're like, oh, we healthy, we don't, but in one moment like, oh, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have something, you have disease, and you need to fight with it. And I think yeah, that's the situation right now.
So is the treatment that you're going under, you can like put out normal power again? And because I had read that article where it was like, that's how you realized you were just riding, didn't feel good, riding kind of like crap, and you're like, something's not right.
Exactly, that's how I discovered thing. Like I told everyone, like if I was like a normal, you know normal guy, which don't really see the power or everything, just doing normal job, for sure I didn't see that the difference. But as soon I after my crash, I get my surgery. After the surgery, after 6 weeks, my blood started changing a little bit, and I started keep training. But unfortunately, my power was just like, oh, wait a second, something wrong. I'm already lean. I'm already, try to do all my intervals, but my power like 30, almost 40% lower than normally. Something wrong.
Wow.
And I get like more investigation, just like, hey, what's going on? Like slowly, like took me probably 8 months until my diagnosis. Yeah, and after 8 months, I just like, all right, because the weird thing, it was when you don't know what's going on with you. That's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing, because someone tell like, hey, don't worry, you fine, and someone tell like you have something bad, and that between, like, hey guys, just tell me like bad or nothing special, right? And as soon as I knew that whatever diagnosis, I'm like, all right, looks like I need to next step. What I'm gonna do next? So yeah.
What were you thinking over those 8 months? Because I think I hear that. And if this was going on for a month and my power was all off 40%, it's like, okay, something's weird. But to have to go through that for 8 months, like, were you freaking out, or were you like something? Where was your head at during that?
The first thing, like, all right, maybe I'm recovering still from the crash, collarbone, but I know a lot of people from, surgery, like next day they're racing, no problem. You're like, oh, all right. So I raced Tour of Turkey. I was in a breakaway, but still not know my level. My power is not there. And that's the thing. Like my team just kept going. Wildlife Generation was just like another races. And I'm like, hey guys, something wrong still. And I remember the first race when I said, no guys, I'm not gonna go. That was Tour of Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, in I came back in Colorado. I get my blood test, and my blood test, I saw my the first really big sign. It was like super premature cells in my blood. That was like 99%. I had really bad something. And the team called me like, hey Sergey, are you gonna come? Like, no guys, probably not. I need to go further in my investigation. So after that, I in Romania I started investigation, and I started with my team Tour of Romania, which was a great race, in my hometown, kind of home race with my team. And after first stage, I stopped and I got my results back, which
Mm,
like during the race, and my results was positive with like, hey, you
mm.
have a blood cancer. And I just like, all right, I just told the guys like, hey guys, see you later. I just leaving you guys. And that was a moment like, oh my gosh, my guy's racing. I get that diagnosis, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, it's terrible.
Mm. How do you
Yeah,
feel now
you know,
mentally with it?
mentally much better. First thing, of course, when you on a schedule, like every year, you try to find a contract. The full time job, like your cycling pays your my bills or whatever. But this year is kind of interesting because like I don't I don't get the team. I don't really even try to find a team first. I try to get with my project. Well, it's not project. I would say with my thing like a private tour with a gravel. but unfortunately the cycling world right now is like in a big hole, and of course I'm talking right now with the non-cycling companies. It's definitely is a different, a little bit different, but mental is fine. My wife, my family supports me. um, Also, when I start treatment, my power came back. So last year I was flying. Be honest, I was flying. I almost, and it's not almost. I came to my normal watts.
Mm.
For sure, I don't really knew like how I'm gonna feel during the stage race, because I tried to prepare for myself for the crits, because I was on the crit league, and I don't really know how it's gonna be. But for gravel, I think I want to try to do that. For sure, it's not gonna be like results wise, but still I would like to continue, because I'm really motivated to ride my bike. But we'll see.
So are you racing with Above and Beyond this year at all?
Yes, I signed with those guys. Um, yeah, I should go like for the training camp, but I was in Europe, and yeah, hopefully Tour of Hill is gonna be my first race with them.
Hmm.
But we decided to go. I decided, and we had a conversation with them to go. I will be with them on the road to try to to share my experience with the young guys, and also
Mm-hmm.
with my mission. But I'm still kind of free for gravel, so we
Okay.
decided I can go like with the gravel with my own stuff. So yeah.
So was that I'm assuming it's not coincidence that you're on that team. Was that like, was the Cancer Connection part of, or was it just like a young team that, and it happens to be having a related sort of theme?
No, the thing is, I think is one of the reason I reached them. That was like a cancer thing, because I think what they try to do, like the sponsor, whatever, Above and Beyond Foundation, I think is a great thing, and I would
Mm-hmm.
like to be involved in that thing to help, not to help, just to be involved with that thing too, because it's the same people like me right now in the same
Mm-hmm.
positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can ride the bike, just like combine with both bike team and whatever they do, I think this is the perfect combination.
Mm, very cool. So when you were kind of talking about maybe you were on more of a crit team before, and now you're going to be getting into gravel, and you had said that you would do sort of that 3 hour interval sessions and maybe try and mix in some long rides. Do you see any other big differences with training for crits versus training for gravel or road?
The thing is, I noticed I raced in my life twice gravel. Belgian waffle. First, it was San Marcos. Of course, that it was like in 2017. It was after Emgene, California. So we finished today Emgene, California, and next day at 6 morning, I started Belgian waffle. So it was stage 8. Okay. So we drove from Santa Barbara to San Marcos. So we built our bikes. It was terrible night, but I finished third. Okay, with the tubes and 25 millimeters tires, I finished third. Okay,
Dang,
let's see. Let's
that's a
say
flex right there.
exactly. Let's say that was like stage 8. I was be able, to do like 5-6 hours, no problem. Next, it was 2021, right before I crashed. It was Belgian Waffle in Cedar City in Utah.
Mm,
I finished 8th, but of course it was, I'm roadie. As soon as we hit the sandy section, I just stuck there. I just walk. It was like, I think we left like in 10 people with the big boys like Peter Stetna. I think he won, like big boys there on gravel. Okay, that's ability. I don't really realize how to ride my bike on the sand. I was all right.
mm,
Ciao ciao. So I finished still 8th, and with the same type of training which I've done for for years with
mm.
whatever 2.5-3 hours. It was enough. So I think maybe it should be enough. That's I told you like it's not gonna be results wise, but for sure I
Right.
would like to. I'm still competitive, right? Even I have whatever I have, but still competitive, and for sure I will try to go for results. But if not, I'm still okay.
Yeah. Very cool. What's of those sessions? What are your favorites that stick out?
You know, um, be honest, I hate those super so my ability always like I don't have force in my legs. I'm always on a high cadence.
Mm.
If you see my cadence on time trials is like over 110 plus always.
Whoa.
The thing is the gears as soon I put like smaller gear like whatever 53 I don't know whatever even 55 13 or whatever 14 16 even is no way I can I'm always on a cadence and that's my problem. I always try to do like some force up climbs just like low gears. That's my worst and high intense as well. I think it's kind of medium like 5 minutes is fine, 3 minutes is fine, four is worse. I don't know. It's hard to say.
That's so interesting. I'm trying to think of who was on before, and we were talking about like the 4 minute interval like sucks. It's like just go shorter at 3 minutes and harder, or longer in five, and we're like forget four. God, who was that? That's so funny that you bring that up.
Yeah, that was he sprints as well. I'm not a sprinter, and I lost after Giro. I lost my sprint. Like from my barely 1,200 watts, I can push like 1,000 maybe. That's like crazy. Yeah.
Sergey's not going for the sprint then, that's for sure. Did
No,
you do any gym work?
no. I should probably do core exercise, but not gym. But I've done before gym. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't do.
just not for you.
Yeah. Well, I gained so much weight so easy. I don't know why,
Mm.
but probably food and some water gain. I don't know. I hate that afterwards when I need to lose that thing. I hate
Yeah, losing weight is the worst.
because I 1 year I start swimming like every second day. I was just massive, just like oh my gosh, it's just like 5 kilos plus. Nothing really helped me.
So what would you change about yourself as a rider if you could just make something better?
Um, It's a good question. Change my it's hard to say, be honest. For sure some situation during my career, yes, but yeah.
Yeah, what
So
about then? What do you think would have taken you farther if you had what attribute were you maybe missing, do you feel like?
um I think ability to be consistently like uh for sure always like the trend of the food intake. That's like the guy especially like me, my so my eh, let's talk like FTP, right? If it exists, it doesn't exist. Let's say about the number FTP doesn't really change from winter to my whatever summer, but my weight changed much. Okay, so if I'm early like season I'm 75 and middle of the season when my peak form is 70 kilos, right? That's probably was the problem like whole my career, the problem of food, of course, but my all result it was from July, August, September. All my the best results. But sometimes like the strategics to sign the contract, you should spring. You should show yourself in spring, and that
Mhm.
was always my problem because a lot
Hmm.
of guys are already in spring they showed something like a little bit rest in summer and end of the year. That's like a little bit strategy, but I think nutrition wise, I'm gonna say, it could be like really changeable because I tried everything like keto, non-keto, whatever, you know. And be honest, like for me, it works perfectly. High carbs. I lost the most weight, and it was like slower, but the most quality and the most quality results I got that thing. That's from my experience.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, probably like nutrition wise, training wise, I don't know. Be honest, if I had like a good schedule, like back in 2014, the schedule was perfect, to focus for results and if you need to resign your contract end of the year. I always had that in my pocket.
What do you think led to the what created the weight gain, the 5 kgs? Was it just like, oh, it's winter, there's no racing, I don't have to like really watch what I'm doing, or
That's the thing. You relax. You just like the worst thing when I lost a lot of weight in Italy. I remember I tried to prepare for Giro 2016. I lost a lot, pretty fast too. And after I was benched like crazy. I gained like, I don't know, it's back those 5 kilos really quick as well. But the terrible like mental thing was terrible. I think a lot of endurance athletes, they have that problem, because
mm,
sometimes you see the guys, they so like the same level, but they don't gain weight because genetically, right? Sometimes they like don't really even gain weight. They lean like whole season and they eat everything. Like Egan
mm,
Bernal back in the days. I remember him. He came from Colombia to Italy. It was like cereal, like prosciutto, like all those croissants, like all he like full gas. On the team control of the pinch, he's like, "Hey, you're underweight. Yeah, you're underweight. You need to gain some little bit weight." Be like, dude, he eats a lot. I mean, not a lot. I would say like a lot of stuff which not proper, but he's still lean. And some those guys just like another level,
yeah. That's
and we
amazing.
struggle with that, right? So
So when you mentioned that your threshold power would stay the same during winter through the year, were you still doing like hard ride? Do you train like pretty hard all year long? Or because I think some people have, if they go like more old school, like just endurance base, they see the threshold drop mostly because they're just not training in it at all. What were you kind of all year, or how does it stay the same?
now, usually in October, I took like 3 weeks off, just do nothing. I mean, do nothing, just like whatever, with the family or whatever. Maybe sometimes swimming pool, sometimes gym, really rare. But overall, don't really focus on that. But the thing is, for example, in December we had like a test in Androni. We had a test or test myself. My power doesn't really Probably the different it was winter and summer. Like in summer, I can do that after I would say 4 hours, whatever, 3.5 hours.
Mm,
Winter I can do a little more fresh. But that was the
mm,
difference. But the same
got it.
number. You
Got
understand?
it. Got it. So with all these, I mean, you've talked about so many different races. What's the one? Is there one like just mega memory that maybe you'll still be talking about when you're 60, and it's like, oh man, back in my racing, this was the race or a trip, or I just feel like you've got to have something from all these travels you've been on.
Yeah, I mean, even I raced a lot. I think it's USA Pro Challenge 2014. That was incredible year, which is gonna be forever in my mind. I mean, in my memories, because I finished 3 times third in 3 different terrain: sprint, time trial, and mountain climb finish. And that's the first my result was when I was between the guys like you know um, TJ Van Garderen, Rafa Mike, whatever around, like Tom Danielson, like from there to to superstars guys. I was between them, like that was probably the first step up and the first when and I'm gonna remember that forever.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice that you've received?
Best piece of advice. Let me think about that. Um, yeah, that's quite a question. A lot of advice, to be honest. And I had a
Is there
really,
anything that maybe said differently? Is there any like mantras that you have, or anything that just like you think of often that keeps you going?
I really had a great start with like Freddie Rodriguez. He was a guy who was in my team in Exogy first and second. I think year we moved together in Jelly Belly, and that guy told me a lot of stuff, which is like more mental thing, just like athlete wise. Hey, and you can be able to be there and that, and to do that, just need to trust yourself and to use opportunities when is opportunity, right?
Mm.
So sometimes even right now, the younger people, they ask me some advice or something, I'm gonna tell them, like I'm always telling them, hey, just use your opportunity. Do not waste your opportunity, right? Because sometimes you think, I have another year or whatever, contract of another year. Yes, but the same thing is going to be another year, and like the third year you're not going to have contract, and you wasted that opportunity, right? If you, of course, you need to be balanced, because right now cycling, I think, so focused, because right now even I talked with my ex-teammate, and right recently, a couple of weeks ago, he was a teammate with Peter Sagan, who was my teammate, Oscar Gato. He told me like, hey, cycling changed right now is a lot, like everything calculated, everything like so focused, just like crazy, like and it started already, I think, from Team Ineos, whatever, Sky, back in the days when they properly work, like yeah, that's example in Amgen, California. I remember like, hey, Egan, he won that Amgen, and we talk together in the peloton. You're like, hey, Egan, how's the team? Like, hey, it's nice team. Everything's so calculated. Every morning we wake up, we have like a blood pressure measurements. We have like whatever measurements. For me, it's fine. I'm 20, whatever plus years old. But this guy, and he showed me in the front, it was Standard. You remember that? I think Jan Standard is like the guy is a big guy. He's classic
Totally.
from UK, and he was
Yeah.
already like 30, almost 40 years old. And he showed me like, hey, but this guy probably don't like that thing, because he has
Yeah.
kids, he's more old school, And I think that the cycling nowadays has changed a lot. If you, as soon as you're in the wave that thing, you be in that system, of everything so strict, and it's hard to advise something which is I'm old school, more old
Mm.
school.
That's really interesting to hear Aegon talk that way. And yeah, Standard is beast mode.
Standard.
I remember watching him in Tour of Britain, some great races back in like 2016. What do you think, opportunity wise, what opportunity do you think is in front of you that you're trying to take advantage of this year in 2024?
Be honest, I would like to stay on my bike as long as possible, but at the same time to build that, thing which is like more like a mental help for the people, which is, it doesn't matter. Like, for example, yeah, my disease is super rare. I just asked about like statistics, like almost like 60,000 people has this disease.
Wow.
That's, I told you, like, I won another lottery. If
Right.
you can say there's a lottery, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I would like to spread that word and to invite, the people, for example, like Oleg Tinkov. I don't know if you heard
Mm-hmm.
about him.
Yeah.
So I talked with him. I had like a conversation with him, because, for example, if people in sport, they can, they can share their experience, how they react to that disease, how family reacted, what they do for that, how they continue a sport, right? I think around the people, even the healthy, because sometimes, like, a lot of mental problems people has, like, without even, they are healthy, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, this is bike is so bad. I don't know. Man, look at that guy at Paralympics. They don't have legs, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have hands. They still racing. They don't give a shit, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing, to build that platform to invite more athletes, because if you, I realize like a lot of athletes has that disease. I mean, not a lot, but like, baseball players, like basketball players, like Greg LeMond has the same.
Hmm.
I think everyone can, share that. And I would try to, I'm looking for, first step is going to be gravel, because of a big platform to spread the word, about that. And hopefully I can find someone, or, some opportunity to talk with another people, and people another share that experience, and that's, I would say, of course, like, I'm an athlete, I'm still competitive. I try to compete, but at the same time, it's not the big goal. It's not the biggest goal to be. But the bike is a good tool.
I feel like you'll still be smashing some people, so it's
You never
keep
know.
those goals up there. I mean, man, it's gonna be awesome to see when you hit the gravel and get everything rolling. I'm sure you'll figure that pathway out. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. Is anything else you want to hit on before we close out?
No, really, really appreciate it about you. Thank you very much for everything. What you're doing is great stuff. I mean, I'm really enjoying. And yeah, thanks for everything. And hope talk to you soon. Maybe another episode.
Yes. And my last question actually, what's the best way for people to keep up with you besides Instagram? I'll post that. Do you blog or anything else going on social media?
Definitely, I'm thinking, and I'm still. I mean, I probably are gonna, start the YouTubing. I would say
Okay.
like blog thing. Uh, yeah, that's gonna be like the way to keep eye
Keep
on.
up. And Strava probably.
And Strava, yeah.
Cool. Serghei, thank you so much. Everybody, make sure to give him a follow on Instagram. We'll post a link in the show notes. Good luck with your training and racing. We'll talk to you guys soon.